जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी जय जशोदानंदन जय ब्रज जनरंजन जय ब्रज जनरंजन जय जमुना तीरावनचारी जय कुंज विहारी जय जमुना तीरावनचारी जय कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज विहारी गोपी जन वल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी जय जशोदानंदन जय ब्रज जनरंजन जय ब्रज जनरंजन जमुना तीरावनचारी जय कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज विहारी जय कुंज विहारी जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य आशुतोष श्रीमद हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jayom Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Ashtotara Shata Shishimad His Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki Tai Gaura Premanandi. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to Shishiguru and Shigauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Withdrawal of the Cosmic Creation, Chapter 5, The Demigods Appeal to the Lord for Protection, Text 17 all the way to text number 20. I read 17 and 18 and then... Which one is it? Okay, so then we read 19 together. Nisamjay tatsuragana Mahendra Varuna Dhaja Nadya Gachan Swayam Mantrair Mantrayanto Vinishchitam Tato Brahma Shaban Jakmur Meror Murdhani Sharvashaha Sarvam Vigya Pajam Chakru Pranata Parameshtine. Translation. Lord Indra, Varuna, and the other demigods, seeing their life in such a state, consulted among themselves, but they could not find any solution. Then all the demigods assembled and went together to the peak of Sumeru mountain. There, in the assembly of Lord Brahma, they fell down to offer Lord Brahma their obeisances, and they informed him of all the incidents that had taken place. We can read together. Sabilokendravai adim Sabilokendravai Nikshatam Vigata Prabham Lokam Amangala Prajam Ashuran Ajata Vibhu Sabilokendriya Vaivadim Nishatvam Vigata Prabham Lokan Amangala Prayam Ashuran Ajata Vibhu Sabilokyendra Vaivadim Nishatvam Vigata Prabham Lokang Amangala Prayam Ashuran Ajata Vibhu. Please chant. Savilokendriya Vaibhadim Nishatvam Vigata Prabham Lokang Amangala Prajam Ashurang Ayatha Vidhu Saivilokendra Vaibhadim Nishatvam Vigata Prabham Lokam Amangala Prajam Asuram Ayatha Vibhu Samahitena Manasa Samsmaram Purusham Param Uvacho Phulabhadano Devansa Bhagavam Para Saha Lord Brahma Vilokya looking over Indravaju Adim all the demigods headed by Lord Indra and Vayu Nishatvam bereft of all spiritual potency Vigata Prabham bereft of all effulgence Lokam all the three worlds Amangala Prajam merge into misfortune Asuram all the demons Ayata flourishing Vibhu Lord Brahma the supreme within this material world Samahitena by full adjustment Manasa of the mind Samsmaram remembering again and again Purusham the Supreme Person Param transcendental Uvacha said Utfulabhadanaha bright face Devan unto the demigods Saha he Bhagavam the most powerful Paraha of the demigods. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Upon seeing the demigods were bereft of all effulgence and strength, and that the three worlds were consequently devoid of auspiciousness, and upon seeing that the demigods were in an awkward position, whereas all the demons were flourishing, Lord Brahma, who is above all the demigods and who is the most powerful, concentrated his mind on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus being encouraged, he became bright-faced and spoke to the demigods as follows. Purport. After hearing from the demigods a real situation, Lord Brahma was very much concerned because the demons were unnecessarily so powerful. When the demons become powerful, the entire world is placed in an awkward position because the demons are simply interested in their own sense gratification and not in the welfare of the world. Demigods or devotees, however, are concerned with the welfare of all living beings. Srila Rupa Goswami, for example, left his ministership and went to Vrindavan for the benefit of the entire world. Lokanam hitakarino. This is the nature of a saintly person or demigod. Even impersonalists think of the welfare of all people. Thus Brahma was very much concerned at seeing the demons in power. Om Agyana Timirandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Ummilitanyena Tasmai Sri Gurube Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirveshesha Shunyavadi Pashatyade Satarine Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. So again, for the assembled devotees and the devotees who are watching in the internet, this is not the Subal morning show. It just happened to be this week like this. So please bear with me and with us. So the narration of what happened to the demigods after being cursed, as the Indra being cursed by Durvasa Muni, and the demigods basically lost all the power and influence, and the three worlds became bereft of all auspiciousness, devoid of all auspiciousness. And the demons who won the battle against the demigods and took over the control of the worlds of the universe, then became very, very powerful, and they were flourishing. And it is explained here that Indra and the demigods, they went to Lord Brahma to take shelter of Lord Brahma and try to find a solution. They were trying to find a solution. Actually, the situation was very difficult because the army of the demigods, many of the demigods were killed. And there were certain situations in which the demigods sometimes, they can be revived. But in this situation, there was no solution. So they lost everything, and they couldn't find a solution, so they went to Lord Brahma. Something addressing the question that Jordan Prabhu asked yesterday in terms of, so who's greater than, like that. There's different realms. So in this sense, the position of Lord Brahma in this verse is very clearly explained as the most powerful living entity in the universe. So in general, when things goes really, really south, then the demigods always goes towards Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma, through the different pastimes, when the demigods comes to ask for help, he is the one who's able to communicate, have direct access to the personality of Godhead. So he communicates with the personality of Godhead, or he's the intermediary, intermediate person that is able to directly communicate with the personality of Godhead and receive instructions from the personality of Godhead. We see it happens in this pastime. It happens also, we hear when Mother Earth was very much afflicted and went to Lord Brahma and the demigods, when the demons were also controlling the whole affairs. They were too powerful, and when disturbing too many of the pious affairs or religious affairs in the earth, and specifically Kamsa and all the different demoniac kings that were during that time in the planet. So when Mother Earth and the demigods approached Lord Brahma was the one who took them to the shores of the ocean of milk, where the Lord resides as the Kshirodakshai Vishnu, And he meditated, they all meditated, but it was Lord Brahma the one who was able to receive the instructions from Lord Vishnu. So this is the case here. And several very important points are explained by, we can take from Prabhupada's purport. One is the difference between the demigods and the demons. The demigods are considered devotees. They are they're godly type of beings and extremely pious, and they're devotees. They're devotees. They have mixed devotion. The devotion is mixed with desires of enjoyment of power, but they're devotees, and they're considered godly beings, and therefore they're always considering the welfare of the living beings. They have, as part of their service, it's almost a social workers, or they're servants of the creation of all the living entities. And so their main purpose is to make sure that the welfare of all living beings are there. And the demoniac mentality is different. The demoniac mentality is completely self-centered. And they're concerned about the sense gratification. And I was, in the presentation that I did on Sunday, we were discussing about this demoniac mentality that is, because sense gratification is basically self-centered, is very selfish, and sense gratification is explained that you can expand your selfishness expands from just yourself into those who you consider yours, but it's always self-centered. My family, my friends, my community, my country, like that you can expand your selfishness. So so the demoniac mentality is I am the controller, I am the enjoyer, and the proprietor. So they take the position. The demoniac mentality is taking the position of God. So therefore, the idea of having to accept someone that is greater than you, it doesn't fit the demoniac mentality. It actually makes them very disturbed. So the demoniac mentality is always against anything that presents that there is someone that people have to surrender to. And then we hear in the narrations, of the Bhagavatam, and also we see it, in throughout the history of the world, that great demons, they go to such an extent to cause all kinds of disruptions and destructions according to their beliefs, that one can just question, who in the world would like to do something like that? Say, for example, we hear the narrations of, the instructions that Hiranyakashipu or Kamsa or, different demoniac kings, they give to their followers, which is to completely disrupt and destroy any type of religious sacrifice, any type of activities that were performed as sacrifices for the welfare of humanity, they sent to be destroyed. So in the case of Ravana too, the followers of Ravana, their business was to completely disrupt and destroy all the activities of the saintly persons and, yagyas. So, and not only that, but also harm and destroy those who are brahmanas, or the priests. So there was narrations, that we hear from the Mahabharata and from the Ramayana, that Rakshasas that were, sent by these demoniac personalities, like Ravana and Hiranyakashipu, they will not only attack, the places where the places where the saintly persons were, their ashrams and their places of sacrifice and temples, but they will kill them too. They will eat them. And then in more recent times, during the times of Lord Chaitanya and the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, we hear, demoniac kings, like there was this fellow whose name was Arun Sabek. His business was to destroy all the temples of Lord of Krishna in Vrindavan. He decided his main palace and kingdom was in Agra, which was, fairly close to Vrindavan and Mathura. And one day, he became to his awareness that in the distance he could see the light that was the fire, sacrifice fire that was put on the top of the Radha Govinda temple in Vrindavan, and he decided he would destroy them all. So when we go and visit the Radha Govinda temple in Vrindavan by Srila Rupa, was the one that was built under Srila Rupa Goswami, we'll see that it's still a magnificent building, but it's only the first, I think, 4 stories. There were like 5, no? Yeah. So I think there were 11 stories or something like that got dismantled, and by this, and then the deities have to be taken away. He destroyed many of the temples, and then we hear of these demoniac kings in South India. That his name was what was his name? I forgot the name immediately, but something with K. Well, he decided he also had to destroy all the Vishnu temple. He was a follower, he was a Shivaist. And he decided that, Lord, all the Vishnu temples have to be destroyed. And specifically, he basically annihilated the whole Brahminical population of Sri Ranganath, which was the headquarters of the Vaishnavas, the Sri Vaishnavas in South India. And he basically massacred so many of the Vaishnavas there. So many. I mean, it was shocking. I can't remember the figures, but so this is the mentality of the demons. They can't stand, so they go into this destruction. So, one thing, why would you like to destroy, all these activities that are meant for the welfare of people? And, maybe you can, introduce something, that, being a little more diplomatic, more sort of negotiating things, But that's not their position. Their position is that they immediately act to actually destroy anything that have to do with accepting that there is a supreme person other than them. So the devotees are different. The devatas are different. The devatas, it is explained that they will think twice to actually do something that will harm or create, some difficulties for others. Even if there's enemies, they still think, things further and further to actually take action, even to the point of, being righteously entitled to attack or eliminate the particular aggressor, demoniac aggressor. They will still think. And that's the quality of a devotee. Prabhupada gives the example of Arjuna and the Pandavas. And they had all the reasons to destroy Duryodhana and followers, because even according to the scriptures, they have the reason. It was bona fide for them to kill them. It was bona fide. It was not going to be questioned by the laws of the universe about themselves punishment by killing them. Because there is explained that there is 6 types of aggressors that you have lawfully in the universe. You won't get punished, or you won't get, if you actually attack or kill. Someone who plunders, who takes your property. So you're lawfully, you can actually attack and harm. Someone, I don't think I remember all the 6, but someone who tries to kill you or attack you with weapons, deadly weapons, you can also do that. Someone who defiles your family, specifically your wife, you can do that. Etc., etc. Excuse me. They're calling because Kalakanta Prabhu is his flight was delayed, so they're trying to make arrangements for getting Kalakanta. So that's what that's the extra calls. So where I was now? Once who admitted is poison, and you remember the other ones? Yeah, so the Duryodhana broke all of those. All of the 6 he did. He tried to destroy, they killed them by fire, by poison. He gave poison to Bhima. They tried to disrobe Krishna. Shruti, I'm giving the Bhagavatam class. You're right now being watched by the internet. To the internet devotees, Shruti is sorry. So they broke everything. So the Pandavas, naturally, they could kill them. They could attack, and there was no problem. Now, when it came to the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Arjuna was ready to give up everything, because he was starting to think, let them enjoy. Why should we get into this thing of killing? Their family, and on the top of that, the consequences of all this is that they will completely this, when Arjuna has his doubts, was based, Prabhupada explained that that's the heart of the devotee. Because the devotee is thinking that why causing all this disruption? They think like that. So that is a big difference. And therefore, when there is these terrible disruptions, caused by the demons, when in the whole, environment of the universe, they basically come to try to disrupt the whole system, the universal system that is created by Krishna. The universal system that Krishna created is perfect and complete. Also, the whole Ishopanishad principle. And is perfectly organized. And in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains that how that system works is a system between, man and demigod and the process of sacrifice. 3.10 in the Bhagavad Gita, that the Lord blessed them by saying, be thou happy by this process of sacrifice. So it says that in the beginning of the creation, the Lord sends forth demigods and men, and thus bless them by the process. Here's the process: sacrifice. You perform this sacrifice, yagyas, and the result is that everybody will flourish, will have everything necessary to live happy in this world, and at the end go back home, back to Godhead. So, a perfect system. So, and it's a system that functions perfectly between demigods and men. And the demons, they're very disturbed by this system because they won't accept the authority of the personality of Godhead. Man and demigods living within the system of that Krishna gave, they accept the supremacy of Lord Vishnu. That's there. The ones that can take the supremacy of Lord Vishnu are the demons. So that's the difference. So when there's a disruption, when the demons start to take over and disrupt too much this perfect system, then the Lord comes. And it's explained that the Lord comes, or the Lord's representative also will take up that job. There's a very important verse there's a very important verse in the Bhagavatam. It's considered the most important verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam. You know which verse is that one, any of you? It's called the Paribhas Sutra. Paribhas Sutra means the supreme. The verse, if you have an understanding of this verse, then the whole Bhagavatam makes sense. So you have to have this verse clear. It's called the Paribhas Sutra. Srila Jiva Goswami given this title. It's the key verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam. You know which one is that verse? Any of you have heard that? It is Canto 1, Chapter 3, text number 28. Ete chansa kalapunsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indriyari Vyakolam Lokam. What is it? Sambhavami Yuge Yuge. Sambhavami Yuge Yuge. Yeah. Basically, huh? Oh no, then this is very similar. Let me see here. Let me look it very quickly. Indiyari Vakulan Lokan. Mridayanti Yuge Yuge. Mridayanti Yuge Yuge. Similar. Ete chansa kalapunsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indriyari Vyakulam Lokam Mridayanti Yuge Yuge. Mridayanti Yuge Yuge. The verse in Bhagavad Gita that says basically the same thing is Jada Hi Dharmasya Glanir what is it? Jada Hi Dharmasya. Say Glanir Bhavati Bharata Abdyuttaman Adharmasya Sambhavami Yuge Yuge. Sambhavami Yuge Yuge. Yeah. So this verse is very important. Why call it the Paribas Sutra? Because establishes Krishna's position as supreme. Swayam Bhagavan Krishna. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. And it is explained that the verse read like all these incarnations, all these different manifestations, narrations of the different incarnations of the Lord, they're all very important. They're all supreme. There's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But this word tu, Krishna's tu means but. And the way Srila Jiva Goswami explains is that it's like saying, in this assembly, there are many great personalities. There are so many great politicians. You know, there's a mayor of Illinois, there's a mayor of New York, there is, the minister of this, there is the minister of that. But among them, there's the president of the USA, there's the president of the country. So this but, or these two, it means that among all of those, there's one that is most important. And that's Swayam Bhagavan, the original personality of Godhead. So Krishna's position is established. Now, Indriyari Vyakulam Lokam, that Indriyari, the enemies of Indra. So every time the enemies of Indra become too powerful, then the Lord appears a millennium after millennium to protect the devotees from the enemies of Indra. So in many different planets, there's enemies of Indra, or this is just the demons. So the Lord appears in these different incarnations to protect the devotees. So same thing in the Bhagavad Gita, Jada Hi Dharmasya. When the Lord appears, when there is a decline in religious principles, and there is a flourishment of irreligiosity, at that time he appears, and then he says, Paritranaya sadunam vinasaya chaduskritam dharma sanstapanartayo. Okay, that was when the Sambhavami Yuga Yuga. Yeah, I'm getting old, man. I need to take the brahmachari studies. Go back to that. Sambhavami Yuga Yuga. So, to protect the devotees and to annihilate the demons. So he comes to actually reciprocate, to give reward the devotees and to punish the demons. So he does that regularly. So it happens over and over and over. And so many, it constantly happens. That tells us what is the nature of this world. The nature of this world is that, you get a little distracted or too comfortable or too casual about it, the tendency is that we'll go towards that. So it always goes towards that, towards trying to neglect the process or the instruction or the authority of Krishna, and then go towards, demoniac mentality, which is basically I'm what is it? Ishwaraham aham bogi. I am the controller, I'm the enjoyer. So every time he goes that, then Krishna comes personally or sends his representative. So one can think, well, these days is not a pretty picture out there, there it's pretty demoniac in one sense. Why Krishna doesn't come? He came 500 years ago, why he could, right now, if we compare how was back then 500 years ago and how is now is pretty bad, now it's much worse, and it doesn't look pretty for the future either. So things are increasing, and so maybe, I wonder why Krishna, could appear himself. The next scheduled incarnation of Krishna, there's still something like 430,000 years for that to happen. That's an awful long time. That's the next incarnation, Kalki. So it would be a good reason to come now. But Krishna doesn't have to come himself. He can send, his representative. And I want to read you, I have mentioned before to you guys the writings of Srila Lokanath Das Goswami, Lochan Das Thakur. In his Chaitanya Mangala, he reveals, this conversation that happens in Dwarka, in which Krishna is expressing his coming into Kali Yuga to establish, the principles of religion. So, and if a great personality sees problem, he can either come himself or send someone that is very trustful, or how do you say, trustworthy of him, to actually take care of the situation. So this is this narration. Nama guna sankirtana Vaishnavara Shakti Prakash Karibe Ami Nija Prema Bhakti. Chanting of the name and qualities of Krishna is the life and energy of the Vaishnavas. I will reveal these activities and rejuvenate pure devotional service unto myself. Ei Mata Kali Papa Karibe Shanghara Sabe Chala Aje Pache Nakara Bichara. In this way I will destroy all the sins in Kali Yuga. So all of you, my associates, go ahead and take birth on the earthly planet before my advent. I don't remain behind. Ebe nama sankirtana tishna kadaga laiya antara ashura jivera pelibe katiya. Taking the sharp sword of the congregational chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Nama Sankirtana, I will root out and destroy the demoniac mentality in the hearts of all conditioned souls. Yadi padi chadi dharma dure deshe jaya, mora senapati bhakta jaibe tataya. If some simple people escape and giving up religious principles go to far-off countries. These are the far countries that is the word is dese. And we pray to Srila Prabhupada, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi, Pashyatya Deshe, or Desha Tarine. So these Deshe, far-off countries. Then my Senapati Bhakta will come at that time to give them Krishna consciousness. Senapati means a military field commander, Bhakta, a devotee. So Lord Chaitanya will empower his own devotee to spread Krishna consciousness around the world. That's that narration. So Prabhupada came as fully empowered, like with the power of Krishna. So therefore, among Gaudiya Vaishnavas, Prabhupada is accepted as a Shakti Vesha avatar. And so meaning that he received the Shakti to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. That's how it was possible to do it for him. Something that was never heard before, happened historically, that in a short span of time, 12 years, he was able to transfer or establish a very old foreign tradition into, a culture that was completely against it. And that was Srila Prabhupada's power and greatness. So the Lord comes in the form of this ISKCON movement to actually establish the principles of religion. And that's a great fortune to actually being menial, tiny, put a little, anuseva to Prabhupada's being one of the leader soldiers of this great Senapati Bhakta, and assist him in his mission to establish, religious principles in the world. So I stop here. Any comments or questions? Okay. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hopefully tomorrow we have another devotee divinity class. And also I actually wanted before to make a little correction from yesterday. Kim Priyavrata is the son of Swayambhuva Manu. Uttanapada is his brother. So I mentioned, I was a little confused. So that's a correction. Thank you. Hare Krishna.